So, I almost recorded an episode on an entirely different topic today, but I really wish that someone taught me this 20 years ago. And since this is the first out of 20 weeks that we're going to be going through these lessons and these teachings, I wanted to make sure that we did this right from the beginning because a lot of you are very ambitious people, and our ambition is something that can so hugely support us, and in other cases, it's something that can so hugely screw us when used the wrong way. If you think about ambition as a fire, it can be something that like lights you up and fuels you. But if you use it recklessly or incorrectly, it can be something that can burn you and literally just burn the whole place down. So, this is not to say that there's a problem with being ambitious. This is to say that how can we cultivate it in a way that doesn't burn us? So I want to start with a story. And if you're an actual football fan, which I am not, but I love this story, forgive me if I mess up any of these details. So there's this coach named Mike Smith who built the Atlanta Falcons into a consistently good team. And he did this by emphasizing daily improvement, progress over the actual outcome, process over the actual outcome. So he wasn't necessarily focused on winning, he was focused on process and drilling and techniques and all of these things. So they made the playoffs regularly. In 2012, it was the NFC championship game, and they had a 17-point lead with 10 yards to go, and they blew it. And in his own book, he describes exactly the point that I'm going to be bringing to you today. I'm going to actually read you the exact quote. He said, getting there, so winning, getting there became the only thing we cared about. If you only focus on the fruit, you're going to forget about the root. I'm going to repeat that. If you only focus on the fruit, you're going to forget about the root. And this is something I want you to be aware of as we start these 20 weeks. And honestly, as you're starting this new chapter in your life with food, the biggest mistake ambitious people make is becoming more committed to the outcome than they are to the process that would actually create that outcome, which then sabotages the outcome that they actually want. I'll say that one more time. So the biggest mistake ambitious people make is becoming more committed to the outcome than the actual process that creates that outcome. And then that obsession sabotages the actual outcome that you want. This is exactly what happened to the Atlanta Falcons right when they started to taste victory. So, for this episode, what I want us to do is turn this back to ourselves. And this theme, I want to break down into 4 different traps that I have fallen into all of them many times myself, but I've also seen many clients and just many people in my circles fall into very similar traps. So the idea is pay attention, see which ones you can relate to, so that way your ambition can be that fire that propels you forward instead of being the thing that burns everything down. And like I mentioned in the most recent podcast episode, even if your ambition, the way you've been using it, has gotten you to this point, oftentimes in order to get to our next level, we need to expand or grow in some way that we haven't yet. So what's gotten you to this point may not be what gets you to your next level of success. So your ambition might actually look different moving forward. So we'll explore that too. So now let's go through the 4 different traps. Trap number 1. I'm calling this the death grip trap. So, what this trap is when ambitious people, we don't fail because we lack the desire, not because we don't want it. Oftentimes, this trap is the people who want the outcome more than anything, but they're so attached and fixated and obsessed to that exact outcome that it actually prevents them from being engaged in the process that would create that outcome. So I want to give you a real life example. An example I've seen with clients could look like two people almost in an identical situation, but in one has this death grip on the outcome where one is enthusiastically engaged with the process. So I've literally seen it look like this. I'll get a message from somebody that says, "Hey, Katie, I really need to join your program as soon as possible. I lost 25 pounds, but then I started binging again and I've already gained back 8. So I need to join your program as soon as possible. So that way I don't gain back any more weight." This happened a lot more when I was first starting this work. I didn't have as much discernment in deciding who would be a good fit client or not. And what I found is people like that have such a death grip on, oh my God, I can't even gain an ounce more. I can't let myself binge one more time or else everything's going to fall apart, that they literally prevent themselves from engaging with the process. Because obviously, when you work with me, you're going to be doing things you haven't done. So, with that, even though that's a healthy thing to do, your mind's going to light up with fear because this is a new thing. Therefore, it can feel uncertain. So, with a person who has a death grip and needs to control every little thing, they're not going to want to engage with anything that could feel remotely uncertain, even if the thing that they're most familiar with is the thing that's harming them. Even if they've been stuck in the same cycle again and again and it's not working, at least it's familiar. So it gives this illusion of control. So I've always found that people like that never do well because they literally can't even engage with the process. They'll say, "Katie, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do." Literally, I could not give you a more structured practice. Like, do these 4 things every single day, and then listen to this lesson on this during week 1, listen to this lesson during week 2. Like, it couldn't be more structured. But they can't even let themselves follow a simple structure where you don't even have to think because they're so busy worrying, what if I do this and this happens? What if I do this and this happens? So it prevents them from doing anything. Whereas another person might come from the same background. They might have also lost 25 pounds, gained 8 back. But what they come to me and say is, "Hey, Katie, I've been in this cycle my whole life. I gain weight and then I lose weight and then I gain weight and then I lose weight. Recently, I lost 25 pounds. I've already gained back 8. It's hit me at this point that what I'm doing is not working. I need to get to the root of what is causing all of this. I need to work on my relationship with myself. I'm tired of just focusing on the numbers because I know even if I reach it, I'm not going to stay there. So I want out of this cycle. I want to build a new relationship with myself. I want to feel different in my own brain." That kind of person, I always know is going to be successful because they're somebody who's actually excited about the process of forming a new relationship with themselves. And they know that if they apply their ambition to just following the process, that the outcome will happen as a side effect. They know if I genuinely have a healthy relationship with food, a healthy relationship with myself, I'm not going to binge because I won't want to, because that's not what people with healthy relationships with food do. So if I just focus on building that healthy relationship, I know all of these habits are going to fall away as an outcome. And I can trust that because I've seen that kind of thing happen in other areas of my life. So they come into it extremely process engaged. And therefore, they actually get the outcome so much faster than people who are just obsessed with the outcome. Oh, I can never let myself binge again. Those are the people who stay stuck forever. The people who want the process and are excited about the process and who use their ambition to go all into the process, those are the people who always succeed faster than anybody. I wish someone told me this 20 years ago because I was the opposite for so long. And now I've changed to the other side. And it is so much more productive and so much more effective and so much happier, a lot more fulfillment on this side. And that brings me to trap number 2, the never enough trap. So, what this looks like, we believe that our next achievement is what's going to bring us happiness. It's always the next one. So, we might set a goal and say, "This is what I want to achieve." Then we hit that goal. And instead of celebrating, we just move the goalpost further. And I have done this for years. When I was in college, I got a 4.0, which for those of you who don't go to school in the United States, 4.0 is the highest that you can get. It means you got straight A's and there's nothing higher. You can't beat that. So I got a 4.0 my first semester. I was proud of myself for about 2 seconds. And then I said, well, anyone, if they really applied themselves, could get a 4.0 for a semester. It would be really special if I could get it 2 semesters in a row. So I worked my butt off. I ended up getting a 4.0 for the second time. And instead of celebrating at all, I said, well, anyone, if they really worked hard, could do it for 2 semesters. It would be amazing to get it 3 times in a row. So I worked really hard, worked really hard. I'm going to save you the rest of the story. I did this 6 times. And I was no prouder the sixth time than I was the first time. I just kept moving the goalpost again and again and again. And I never actually felt the satisfaction or fulfillment from any of that. Another example that I did that you might be able to relate to, I would set a goal weight, telling myself, once I reach this goal weight, I'll be happy. Once I reach this goal weight, I'll feel so confident in my body. Once I reach this goal weight, I'll look so good. So I would set the goal weight and then I reach the goal weight. And then what would happen? What do you think my first thought was? I reached my goal weight. Yay. Now what? Well, now I have to keep it off. Right. So maybe I had zero point 0.5 seconds of peace and happiness. And immediately I move right back into fear. Well, now I have to keep it off. I can't regain anything. And I'd be stressed even if my weight fluctuated a little bit, like a normal amount. I was afraid that I was regaining. So then the goal became what? Well, now I have to keep it. Now I have to maintain it. And guaranteed, even if I did it again, then I move the goalpost again. Well, I already lost the weight, but now I want to build muscle. But now I want to do this. Now I want to do this. Listen, I'm not saying that you shouldn't always keep going. I'm not saying that you shouldn't keep raising the bar for yourself and keep raising your standards. So don't think that what I'm saying is, oh, just be happy where you are and don't be ambitious anymore. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is don't expect to feel proud or happy or successful if you haven't actually built the muscle to feel proud, happy, successful, confident. You still have work to do within your relationship with yourself in order to feel that confidence, that peace. It's not the achievement itself that's going to bring you that. And we can see that because when we keep moving the goalpost, we don't feel more fulfilled. So continue to raise the bar, continue to set high standards for yourself, but know that achievement alone will not heal or fix your relationship with yourself. Don't expect to feel proud or happy or successful if you haven't actually built the muscle to feel proud, happy, successful. So now let's move into trap number 3. I'm going to call this the overnight trap. So this is where we try to use things like motivation, willpower, just like sheer force to try to force the result now instead of consistently building skills over time that would naturally guarantee you the result and make it sustainable. So I'll give you an example of what I mean. So let's say that you want to become amazing at the piano. You just want to be able to sit down at the piano and just like music flows out your fingers. This is the goal that you see for yourself. So you decide you're going to take this really seriously. And starting tomorrow, you are going to sit down at the piano and through your sheer force, you are just going to become amazing on day one immediately. And all of us, if we heard somebody talk like that, we would say, you are delusional. That is not how to practice piano. And if they were like, well, how do I practice piano? Well, you have to build certain skills. You have to learn your finger dexterity. You have to learn how to read music. You have to practice your scales. There are all these different skills that you need to build. And they're like, well, I want to be perfect at it immediately. Well, too bad. You can't be perfect at it immediately. But what you can do, which will guarantee your success, is you can sit down every single day consistently and practice improving in all of these skills. Practice morning and evening. That's going to be so much more effective. If you practice morning and evening every single day, that is going to be so much more valuable than even having one long lesson every week because you're practicing the skills consistently. And it seems so obvious when we use an example like playing the piano. But what I see so often, people with food, especially this work that I do, you want to be perfect immediately. You just want to wake up tomorrow and not have any binge urges, not have any cravings, or you just want to have this one stroke of motivation that just carries you for the rest of your life, it's not going to happen. However, what you can do is build the skills to have a healthy relationship with yourself, to have a healthy relationship with food, to have a healthy relationship with your own mind. You can build the skills of body listening. You can build the skills of emotional regulation. You can build so many supportive skills that will naturally lead to the outcome of no binges way more successfully than just trying to set a rule for yourself. I'm not going to binge for the rest of my life. But a lot of people don't want to do that because I just want the result overnight. But by trying to get the result overnight again and again and again, what happens to us? We stay in the same pattern for 30 years. I say to my clients, like, literally practice this morning and evening. Practice this during your meals. Just practice this consistently each day. Here's the things I want you to do each day. That's actually going to get them the outcome so much faster than someone who's impatient and says, well, no, that's too slow. I want to be able to do this right now. So I'm just going to set a rule for tomorrow, no more binges. Okay, well, if that worked, it would have worked at some point over the last 30 years, and it hasn't. So, which is actually slower? Which is slower? Taking the time to build consistency and build these skills, or just wishful thinking overnight every single night for years and years, right? It might seem like building skills is slower, but it's not. That's actually the fast route. That's actually the real quick fix is being consistent, learning the proper skills. And we see it so obviously when we talk about things like playing a musical instrument or learning a sport. We can see all that. But so many of us just want the ending so desperately that it prevents us from even engaging in the actual process that will bring us that happy ending. So that's trap number 3. Now I want to tell you about trap number 4. So, trap number 4 is called the I'll be happy when trap. And I got into this a little bit already, but let's expand it. So, I'll give you an example that I see with my clients sometimes. So, one of the things that I've talked about in the past that has happened to me, that's happened to a lot of people, I've mentioned it on my podcast before, that usually within a week or two of someone going through my program is they'll have the experience of forgetting that some triggering food was in the house, or maybe someone will open up their desk drawer at work and they'll see a chocolate bar in there from 4 days ago. And they think, oh my God, I totally forgot that I had that. Or they open their cupboard at home and they're like, oh, I forgot I had that. Whereas in the past, not only would that never have happened, but they would have been completely obsessing over that thing until they actually ate it. So a lot of times when somebody new joins my program, they'll say something to me like, I was listening to your podcast and I heard about people, forgetting that the ice cream was in the freezer. If that happened, I feel like I could just die happily now. Like if that happened to me, I would be so proud of myself. It would be the most amazing thing. Fast forward 1 or 2 weeks later, when that actually does happen to them. Now, some of my clients will be thrilled. They'll say, oh my God, I can't believe this actually happened to me. I never thought it would, and it did. I'm so grateful. I can't wait to keep going with this process. Some people will have that reaction. Other people will acknowledge that it happened and I'll go to celebrate them. And they'll say, yeah, but I don't know. I feel like maybe it just needs to happen a few more times for me to really feel like, or I don't know, but this other person had this win and I really want that to happen to me. Meanwhile, 2 weeks ago, you just told me that if this happened to you, you could die happy. And now what you're saying is, no, 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 I'll only be happy when. So this is very reminiscent of what I talked about in trap number two of always moving the goalpost and not allowing yourself to actually enjoy the journey. And I have experienced this myself so many times. I cannot be convinced otherwise at this point. The people who really do the best and are most successful are also the most grateful for the actual process, not just grateful for the achievement, but for what the process is teaching them, those proud moments, what they're learning. Like, let's say you're climbing a mountain, which in a way, right now, you are. You are climbing the metaphorical mountain. You're on a hike, you're climbing a mountain, and you're with a friend. So the two of you start out the walk, you're going up the mountain. And you're just really enjoying the nature. You're enjoying the crunch of the leaves under your feet. You're enjoying the blue skies. You're enjoying the shade from the trees and the fresh air. You're thinking, oh, this hike is amazing. I am just loving this hike. And you express how grateful you are to be outside, to be having this experience with your friend. And your friend responds, yeah, but we have so far to go before we get to the top. You say, yeah, we do. And you keep walking and you're really starting to break a sweat and you're feeling good in your body and you're thinking, wow, I love how I feel right now. I love being in nature. We're almost to the first peak. You get to the first peak, you look out and you see this beautiful view and say, wow, what a view. Look at that. And your friend says, yeah, but we have so far to go before we get to the final peak. So you keep going, you keep saying the same thing, and then they keep responding with the same thing. Yeah, but we still have so far to go. You finally make it to the big peak and you look out and it's this 360 view. It's the most gorgeous thing you've ever seen. And you're just in awe, taking it all in. And you think to yourself, oh my gosh, I have loved this whole hike. I have loved the whole way up. This view is amazing. I am so grateful. You turn to your friend, and your friend, what do they say? Yeah, but now we have to walk all the way back down, and then we have to drive all the way home. Do you want to go hiking with this friend again? No. No, if they ask you to go hiking again, you're gonna make up an excuse. Because who wants to walk with somebody who's always being like that? Meanwhile, when we're climbing the various mountains of our lives, oftentimes we are that person. We are that person to ourselves. So the idea behind this trap of I'll be happy when is if you're going to go through the journey no matter what, why wait to enjoy until you reach the destination? Like 90% of the time you're in the journey, only that 1% of the time you're in the destination. So if we wait to be happy, if we wait to be grateful, if we wait to feel proud until we actually reach the destination, we are robbing ourselves from gratitude and happiness for most of our lives. And that's the reality. So here's what I want you to take away from this episode. Number one, your ambition is a positive thing. Keep stoking that fire. It's great to have high standards. It's great to shoot for the moon. It's great to want the highest and best for you and your life. I want you to have that. But remember, ambition is like fire. When you cultivate it and you tend to it, it can be an extremely powerful tool. If you use it recklessly or improperly, it can burn you or burn everything down that you worked for. So watch out for these four traps. And every time you notice them, self correct. And like I mentioned in the previous podcast episode, maybe in the past you would be hyper focused on the outcome. And maybe it did help you reach a certain level of success. However, there is always another level, and what you did to get to that first level may not be the same thing that you need to get to your second level. So, this means expanding our ideas of how we use our ambition, how we approach growth, how to approach the goals that we have that we want more than anything else in this life. So instead of only focusing on the outcome and becoming attached to it and hyper fixated on it to the point where it doesn't let you engage in the process, focus your ambition on the process itself and fall in love with that process. And not only that, but be good company to yourself as you're climbing up that mountain. And that's what I'll leave you with. For next week's episodes, I'm going to be taking you more tangible work. And I'm going to be giving you an exercise that I actually give every single one of my clients before they start working with me. And this exercise, even though we're going to apply it to food, you can actually use this for any goal that you have in your life. And it is an amazing exercise to do. So I'm really excited to share that with you. So make sure you've followed the podcast, you've subscribed to the YouTube, you're on my email list. All the links are in the show notes, and you'll get everything that I send out. And I look forward to seeing you next week.